Hey everyone, Laffey here. Just wanted to give a quick announcement before the video starts and a little bit of a sponsor that I now have a Nexus.gg account where you can buy both DKO runes, the Ultimate and Founders Edition of Divine Knockout, and Smite content such as the Ultimate God Pack and even Smite gems from my store, and you can support me. The link in the description is below. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the video. But you can join me next time where we'll be looking at Hercules. Why did I say that? Yeah, I'm not doing that at all. So, let me explain. A little while after completing the Amaterasu guide, I became attached to playing and enjoying Sol again, which I did even during the alpha playtests. And can you blame me? Sol's personality translates exactly how it does from Smite, being both bubbly and fun, which is even reflected in her animations, and I just continue to love her time and time again. And it would make sense to prioritize guides on the gods that I enjoy, right? Well, that's why I changed my mind, and now I'll be covering Sol, so why don't we jump in? Her light autos on the ground are a normal 3-hit progression. The heavy attack is long range and pushes Sol back slightly, whereas the fully charged heavy will not knock her back and has even further range. The air light is a forward lunge, while the air heavy is a powerful 360 spin, capable of hitting multiple targets around her. Sol's first ability, which is her movement ability, is called Disapparate. Sol will curl up into a ball, gaining super armor and moving in the direction that your cursor faces, dealing damage to anyone that she passes through. Sol's second ability, Fireball, is a curved projectile that deals damage and knockback on impact. After the impact, or if it hits the map terrain, it will then proceed to drop 8 flame balls, dealing damage every 0.2 seconds for 4 seconds. Sol's third ability, Combustion, is an AoE ability in which after a few seconds, players within a 10-meter radius will take damage from the explosion and be hit with heavy knockback. For Sol's ultimate, which is called Supernova, Sol will rise slightly into the air, gaining super armor once more, and has 2 seconds to choose a target area, in which a large fireball will be thrown at said target area and explode, dealing damage and applying more heavy knockback. You are given Sol with the following talents and traits. Chain Reaction, which provides further damage and knockback towards your hit for every enemy that is hit by Combustion, for a total of 3. Flare Up, which allows Sol to just deal damage and charge Supernova 25% faster. Line of Fire, which allows quote-unquote explosion to deal up to 25% additional knockback based on the proximity of the target. I'm not really certain what is meant by explosion, whether it means combustion, supernova, or potentially even both of them, but I've asked for clarification on it and I have yet to hear back or see any update on the talent, so if anything does get changed on that, I will update it in a pinned comment. And Blazing Trail, which reduces the cooldown of Disapparate by 4 seconds for every enemy hit by it. Ideally, for the most optimal talents and traits, players should be aiming to earn and equip Explosive. This allows the direct hit of Fireball and Combustion to deal more knockback and grant 8% ultimate charge, which is good for the playstyle that you want for Sol and allows for optimal ultimate upkeep, as hitting both of those abilities can grant 16% ultimate charge, which is really good for the cooldowns that those abilities have. Hot Streak, in which after a knockout, the next ability used gets a reduced 9 seconds cooldown. In ones, this isn't really too good, so you can change this to Healing Flame, although this talent is also bugged and kind of stops working out 1 round, but this is at the time of recording and they could fix this within the distant future. Despite the clarity uncertainty, Line of Fire should be kept, but if you don't trust it, It's okay to go the floor is lava, which will produce an additional 4 pools, making it 12 pools for Fireball. And finally, Blazing Trail should also be kept. For blessings, Hercules' Strength, Susano's Alacrity, Thor's Landing, or even Sol's own blessing, Salt's Temper, all work greatly for Sol, giving her either extra knockback on heavy attacks, resetting her Aerolite, giving reduced further cooldown on her Q if you damage enemies with it, or just providing more damage in general. Just as a quick small edit here, we've officially gotten Zeus in the game, and Zeus's blessing, Zeus's bolt, is also a good choice for Sol, requiring additional damage on her abilities when her ult is or isn't up. For the lesser blessings, Sudden Gust, and then either Sharpened Sickle, Sharpened Sight, or Upward Slash, all providing extra damage towards Sol's kit aside from Sudden Gust, with providing further 10% knockback on air attacks. I personally think that Sol's biggest strength is her edge guarding. Her whole kit, including her air light and air heavy combo, is really tough to get out of when she's edge guarding, and can usually get people out or just keep them off the map for quite some time. It's also really hard to keep Sol off of the battleground, as she has 2 super armor abilities, and she can use all of these abilities while in the air, meaning that she can actually stall time really well and potentially even deal damage from above. Sol also has good mid-range fighting, being able to use both Fireball and Combustion, and even to an extent because of the range of her charged heavy, she can use all of them from a good distance and deal high damage with them. However, as we get into the disadvantages, using Sol's charged heavy is very liable to being heavily punished, as there's a lot of recovery time for using it, so it's best advised to only use it when you can and it is safe to do so. Unless you use the Separate at the beginning of rounds, which isn't really recommended to do so, Sol will pretty much struggle in being able to close the gap with that mid-range fighting and be able to get herself into auto range of the enemies, whereas all of the other characters in the game don't really have that problem. And on top of that, all of Sol's abilities, even including Fireball and to an extent to Separate as well, all of these abilities can take some time to charge, so it's fairly easy to walk up to Sol and just interrupt her while she's trying to use her abilities, and you can end up like taking her off the map or just dealing a lot of damage to her in general for being able to do that. Before discussing Sol's playstyle, I want to mention a few tips that I think can help players with being able to play Sol efficiently. You can jump cancel Disapparate, meaning that if you pass through someone, damaging them, and jump cancel, you'll be able to immediately lock them into an air light air heavy combo when you're returning to the stage, or just doing it in general for extra damage and trying to get them closer to the edge so then you can edge guard them. Thanks to the super armor, Disapparate is also capable of countering and cancelling other gods' abilities, though there's exceptions such as Frost Breath. You can also dodge cancel Combustion, meaning that you can bait dodges with it and refund half the cooldown of Combustion while doing so. You can also jump and cast Combustion while you're in the air, meaning that even though there's not really too much vertical range for Combustion, you can still hit enemies vertically with the ability. The giant fireball of Supernova counts as a projectile, meaning that you can hit enemies with just the fireball and also knock them out. The ground targeter explosion damage and the damage that can be taken from the projectile are actually 2 separate instances of damage, meaning that you'll have to dodge carefully versus Supernova, as you could dodge the projectile but still be hit by the explosion and eliminated from the game. In lower stages of vulnerability, it's actually possible to pull off a full light combo into an immediate charged heavy for good damage, though once again, as mentioned in the strengths and weaknesses, you can be pretty heavily punished for this. Sol's playstyle is odd, to say the least. Like mentioned in the strengths and weaknesses, she has strong mid-range combat, being able to curve fireball for good poke at a distance, and being able to try and charge combustion out of range but then walk into range using the explosion distance of combustion. But otherwise, Sol can struggle in closing the gap and getting close to opponents to be able to hit them with light attacks, but when you get to the point that you can hit them with autos, it gets to the point where Sol shines best. I'm sorry that it took me some time to get the next guide out, but you know, people fall ill and then we'll celebrate holidays like Christmas and New Year's, but with 2023, I'm hoping to be back in full swing and I'll be trying to get out as much content as possible. Thank you for watching, and I swear, next time, Hercules will get his spotlight.